Hey everyone, I'm Mr.Zombie, and tonight, I'll tell you 3 real horror stories that might make you double-check your locks before bed. These stories come from ordinary people, neighbors, families, and someone just like you, who realized too late that the danger was already inside. So turn off the lights, grab your headphones, and let's begin.
House the neighbor who never sleeps. I moved into the apartment building 2 months ago, a quiet 4-story block on the edge of town. Nothing fancy, but I liked the peace. The first week was fine, until I noticed something odd across the narrow street. The building opposite mine had one apartment with the curtains always open, and behind those curtains, there was a man. He wasn't doing anything weird at first, just standing there. Every night, around 2 or 3 a.m., I'd wake up for water, glance out my window, and see him, motionless, looking straight ahead. Sometimes smoking, sometimes just there. At first I told myself it was coincidence. Maybe he worked night shifts. But after a week, I started checking intentionally. Every single night. And every night, he was awake, standing by the window. One night, I decided to test something. At 2:15 a.m., I waved. He didn't move, didn't blink, just kept staring forward, but I couldn't shake the feeling his head turned slightly, as if following me. I closed the curtains. The next morning, I went outside before work. From the street, I looked up at his apartment, 4th floor, middle window. The glass was tinted, but inside I could see nothing. No movement, no lights. Still, when I came home that night and peeked again, there he was. Same spot, same posture. I started avoiding looking at him, but somehow my brain made me. Every time I walked into my living room, my eyes went straight to the window, like something wanted me to keep checking. Then, one night, I woke up and realized my curtains were open. I never left them open. The city lights reflected faintly off the glass, and across the street, the man was there, standing as always. Only this time, his hand was pressed flat against the window, and his head was tilted toward me. The next day, I went to the landlord, asked if he knew who lived in that apartment. He frowned. Across the street, that unit's been empty since last year. I froze. You're sure? He nodded. Yeah, no one's rented it. They had some water damage. It's sealed off now. That night, I couldn't help myself. I set up my phone camera facing the window, started recording, and went to bed. At 3:10 a.m., something woke me. The faint buzz of my phone. The screen showed it had stopped recording. When I checked the video the next morning, it lasted exactly 1 hour. The first 59 minutes were fine. Dark room, quiet. In the final minute, the man's face appears behind the glass. Not outside. Behind my window. I called the landlord again the next morning. Told him someone was breaking into my apartment. He promised to send maintenance to check the windows and locks. When they came, they found nothing. No scratches on the latch, no footprints outside, no signs of forced entry. But when the maintenance guy closed the curtains, he froze. Hey, he said, that building across the street, didn't that one burn last year? I looked out the window. The apartment opposite mine was there, blackened walls, boarded doors, and on the 4th floor, no curtains. Just shattered glass. But last night, I saw curtains. And a man. That night I didn't sleep. I sat on my couch with the lights off, watching the street through the narrow gap in my blinds. Midnight passed. 1 a.m. Nothing. Then at 2:46, I saw it. A faint orange glow. A cigarette ember. Floating where the man used to stand. And for a few seconds, his silhouette appeared again. I blinked and it was gone. I decided I was losing it. I'd been working long hours, barely sleeping. Maybe my brain was inventing things. So the next night, I forced myself not to look. But around 3 a.m., I woke to the smell of smoke. Not cigarette smoke, something heavier. I ran to the window. Across the street, the opposite building was completely dark. But behind me, inside my own room, something flickered. A small flame danced on the corner of my curtains. I slapped it out with my hand, coughing from the heat. The air was thick with dust and ash. When I finally got the fire out, I looked at the floor. There was a cigarette butt, still warm. I live alone. I don't smoke, and I lock my door every night. The next morning, I asked a woman next door if she'd seen anyone outside my apartment. She looked confused. You mean your friend? The tall guy in the hoodie. He left around midnight. I don't have a friend, I said. Her face went pale. She pointed to my door. He had your keys. That night, I stayed at a friend's place. When I came back the next day, my apartment door was wide open. The landlord was waiting outside, shaking. We had to call the police, he said. Your smoke alarm went off again. Inside, everything was wet and blackened from the sprinklers. The walls were burned in strange patterns, like hands pressed against the plaster. In the middle of the living room, the phone lay on the floor, still recording. The last video showed me sleeping from outside the window, and at the end a whisper, "You finally looked away." I didn't go back to the apartment for 3 weeks. The police couldn't explain what happened. They said maybe someone had broken in before, maybe it was arson, maybe I imagined parts of it, but they couldn't explain the videos. They said the timestamps didn't make sense. Each recording started before I'd even gone to bed. One clip showed me entering the room, but the camera was already on, and the final one showed me leaving the apartment in the middle of the night. Only, the me in the video wasn't carrying anything. The real me woke up miles away, sleeping in my car. I tried to move on. Found another place, far across town. Different street, different building. No windows facing other apartments this time. Just trees. The first few nights were peaceful, until I woke up at 3:04 a.m. The room was dark, silent, but through the reflection in the TV screen, I saw a shape by the window, still unmoving, exactly the same silhouette I'd seen before. My heart stopped. I turned around, and there was nothing, just a faint outline of a handprint on the glass. The next morning, I covered the window completely. No light, no view, nothing to remind me of him. But that night, I woke to a new sound, a soft click, coming from inside my closet. I grabbed my phone, turned on the flashlight, and slowly opened the door. Empty, except for a phone. An old one. Cracked screen, no SIM card. When I turned it on, it opened straight to the camera app, and in the gallery, only one video. It was me, sleeping, filmed from outside the window. At the end of the clip, the camera turned toward the person holding it, and there he was. That same man, same face, same tired eyes, only now he was in a different place. Behind him was my new apartment, and he smiled. Then the screen went black. For days after that, I barely slept. I taped over the windows, unplugged everything, even slept with the lights on. Nothing happened, until last night. I woke to the sound of static, my phone playing the old video again, by itself. Only this time, it wasn't a replay. The timestamp was live, and the man wasn't outside anymore. He was sitting on the edge of my bed.
How someone walks in my house when I sleep. I used to think sleepwalking was harmless. People told stories about waking up in weird places, but I never imagined what it felt like to wake up to the sound of someone else walking through your house while you were asleep. It started about 2 months ago, right after I moved into a small one-story home on the outskirts of the city. The neighborhood was quiet, mostly older folks, and rent was cheap. I didn't think twice about why. The first few nights were peaceful. I slept like a rock. But then, around 3 a.m. one night, I woke to the sound of footsteps. Slow, heavy, inside the house. I remember lying still, eyes open in the dark, trying to decide if it was real or a dream. The steps stopped outside my bedroom door. I held my breath, then silence. I stayed frozen for nearly an hour before I convinced myself it must have been the pipes or the wind. The next morning, the front door was locked. Everything looked normal. I told myself I was just paranoid from living alone. 2 nights later, I woke up again. Same time, 3:02 a.m. The sound was back. This time, it came from the living room. Wood creaking, someone breathing, faintly just beyond the door. I reached for my phone. The battery was dead. The footsteps came closer. 1, 2, stop. Right outside my room again. Then the door handle clicked. I don't know how long I stayed awake, staring at that handle, waiting for it to turn. But it didn't. When I finally checked the next morning, I noticed something strange. The living room rug, the one I kept centered, had been moved, folded halfway up the wall. Underneath it, the wooden floor was scratched, as if something heavy had been dragged. I texted my friend Jake, told him I thought someone was breaking in. He laughed. Man, it's just old houses.
They make noise. Set up a camera if you're that freaked out. So I did. That night, I placed my phone on the kitchen counter, facing the hallway. At 3 a.m., the house went silent again, unnaturally silent. Even the fridge stopped humming. When I checked the footage in the morning, my stomach twisted. At exactly 3:02, the hallway light flickered on, and for 3 seconds you could see me walking past the camera. But I was asleep in my bed the entire time that I spent the entire morning staring at that video. It didn't make sense. The man in the recording looked like me. Same clothes, same height, same haircut. But the way he moved, it wasn't natural. His head tilted slightly, like he was listening for something. And when he passed the camera, I noticed something even worse. He wasn't barefoot like I was when I slept. He was wearing shoes. Muddy ones. That night, I set up 2 cameras, one in the living room, one in my bedroom. I went to bed early, lights off, pretending to sleep. Around 2:55, I heard the faint creak of the floorboards again. The same rhythm as before, slow, uneven steps, dragging slightly. I kept my eyes shut, breathing shallowly. The steps moved closer down the hallway. Then the sound stopped right outside my bedroom door. A pause. Then 3 knocks. Not loud, not random. Slow, measured, like someone waiting for permission. I didn't move. The handle turned halfway and stopped. For the next few minutes, the only sound I heard was breathing, low, deliberate, inches away. Then silence again. When I woke in the morning, both cameras were gone. The only thing left was a small pile of dirt near my bed. Fresh soil, like from outside. I checked the back door, locked from the inside. That's when I noticed something scratched into the wood near the lock. Let me walk. I started staying up all night after that, coffee and energy drinks keeping me awake until sunrise. For a while, nothing happened. The house felt normal again. Until one night, I dozed off by accident. When I opened my eyes, my body felt wrong, like my muscles weren't mine. I couldn't move right away, only stare across the room. And that's when I realized I wasn't in my bed. I was standing in the hallway, looking at myself, asleep in bed. I blinked, and suddenly I was in bed, gasping, sweating. The hallway was empty, but my feet were covered in mud. The next day, I checked my phone's gallery. There were dozens of new videos, all recorded at 3 a.m. Each one showed me walking through the house. But in the last clip, the version of me stopped in front of the camera, looked straight at it, and whispered, "It's my turn to rest now." I didn't go to work that day. I sat on the couch with all the lights on, staring at my muddy footprints dried into the hallway floor. If I'd been sleepwalking, that would have been one thing. But the words, "It's my turn to rest now," echoed in my head all morning. Whose turn? That night, I made a plan. I bolted every door, sealed every window, set motion detectors in the hall. I put a small mirror near the foot of my bed. My grandmother used to say mirrors trap the soul. I didn't believe that, but right then I needed to believe something. At 3:01 a.m., the motion alarm beeped once, just once, before cutting off. The hallway light flickered. I forced myself up, holding my phone like a weapon, flashlight trembling in my hand. The air felt heavier, colder. There was someone standing by the mirror. I could only see their outline, tall, hunched slightly, head tilted in that same unnatural way. The reflection showed a face that was almost mine. Almost. It smiled. Then in one slow, jerky motion, it raised its hand and pressed it against the mirror. From the other side, a crack ran down the glass, spreading like a vein. I stumbled back, tripping over the edge of the rug, and when I looked again, the figure was gone. Only the mirror remained, cracked, but no sign of movement. The next morning, there were muddy prints leading from the mirror to my bed. That evening, I called Jake again, voice shaking. "Man, you're scaring me," he said. "I'll come over tonight, all right? We'll stay up together." He arrived around 10 p.m., brought beer and his laptop. We joked about horror movies until midnight, trying to laugh the fear away. But by 3 a.m., Jake's expression changed. "Do you hear that?" he whispered. Footsteps. Same rhythm as before, slow, dragging, but this time they came from inside the wall. The drywall pulsed slightly, as if something was moving behind it. Then, without warning, the cracked mirror fell, shattering on the floor. And in that sound, the crash, the echo, I heard breathing. Close. Jake turned on his flashlight and froze. The reflection on the shards showed a person standing behind us. But when we turned, no one was there. The reflection, though, it stayed. The figure in the glass looked at me, not Jake, not anyone else, and mouthed something. "Sleep now." I woke up the next morning on the couch. Jake was gone. His car was still outside, door wide open. The mirror shards were cleaned up, and on the wall, written in faint brown streaks, were the words, "Thanks for letting me walk." I moved out the next day. The landlord called a week later to tell me something strange. The new tenant complained about noises in the walls at night. She said it sounded like someone walking barefoot through the house. And when she looked in the mirror, she swore she saw me.
Telephone calls from my own number. I never liked phone calls. Texting was easier, quick, simple, and you didn't have to hear anyone breathing on the other end. That's why the first call didn't scare me at first. It came on a Thursday night, 2:41 a.m. My phone lit up beside the bed, vibrating loudly against the nightstand. The name on the screen made me frown. My own number. I thought it was a glitch, maybe a spoofing scam. But curiosity got me. I answered. There was silence for about 5 seconds. Then, faint static. And then, a voice that sounded exactly like mine whispered, "Don't leave your room." The line went dead. I lay there frozen, phone still in my hand, heart pounding. After a minute, I convinced myself it was a prank, maybe one of those creepy number internet tricks. But when I checked the call log in the morning, there it was. Incoming call, my number. Duration, 006. I blocked my own number out of paranoia, laughed it off, and went on with my day. The second call came 3 nights later. Same time, same number. Only this time, when I picked up, I didn't speak first. The voice on the other end whispered again, calm and deliberate. "You didn't listen." Then, faint footsteps. And breathing. It wasn't through the phone's speaker. It was behind me. I spun around so fast I dropped the phone. There was no one there. The room was silent, but my phone screen was still glowing. Call ongoing, 012. I slowly brought it back to my ear. The sound of my own voice breathing filled the line, like I was listening to a recording of myself sleeping. Then I heard a soft click. The call ended. By that point, I couldn't convince myself it was a prank anymore. I changed my SIM card the next morning. New number, new plan. That night, I made sure my phone was off before bed. But at 2:41 a.m., I woke up to the sound of vibration. The phone, turned on by itself, was ringing. And on the screen, in the caller ID, was a single word, me. I didn't sleep the rest of that night. The phone stayed face down on the nightstand, screen black. I sat there until sunrise, afraid to even touch it. When I finally did, I checked the recent calls list again. There it was. Me. 2:41 a.m. Only this time, the duration wasn't 6 seconds. It was 1 hour and 32 minutes. I hadn't heard it ring for that long. That morning, I went to the phone store. The clerk looked at the screen, frowned, and said, "You sure no one's cloned your SIM?" He ran some checks, then shook his head. "No duplicate activity. No call logs from your carrier. Technically, this call never happened." I laughed nervously, but inside I felt my stomach twist. That night, I decided to record. I downloaded a call recorder app and set it to start automatically if any number, especially mine, tried to call. Then I set the phone on the table and hit record on my camera, just in case. I tried to sleep. At 2:41 a.m., the ringtone sliced through the silence again. I stared at the screen, same name, me. I let it ring. The recording app started. After 20 seconds, it stopped by itself. When I checked the recordings in the morning, there were 2 files. One from the phone's camera, one from the call app. The video showed me lying asleep, not moving. But the audio recording, it was my voice, repeating the same sentence over and over. "I told you not to leave." I went cold. At that exact time last night, I had been dreaming, walking through my apartment in the dark. In the dream, I was looking for my phone because I'd heard it ringing from another room. When I found it, I picked it up and answered. By now, I was terrified to even have the phone near me. I turned it off, removed the SIM, left it in a drawer. I borrowed my coworker's phone just to check something, dialed my old number. It didn't even ring. Instead, a voice, my voice, answered immediately. "Stop calling me." Then static. That night, I decided to leave the phone outside. I placed it in my car, locked the doors, and went to bed without it. At 2:41 a.m., I woke up to the sound of ringing again, but not from the car. It was inside my bedroom. The phone lay on my pillow, screen lit, vibrating softly, and written on the screen wasn't "me" anymore. It said, "I'm home." I didn't scream. I didn't even move. The phone lay beside me, glowing softly, the word "I'm home" pulsing on the screen. I slowly reached for it, my fingers shaking. The moment I touched the screen, the display went black, then the front camera turned on by itself. I was staring at my own reflection, but my reflection didn't move when I did. It just smiled. I threw the phone across the room. It hit the wall, screen cracking, but the camera light stayed on, flickering like an eye that wouldn't close. I ran outside barefoot, breathing hard. My car was still locked, the spare key in my pocket. I opened the door, and my heart stopped. The phone, my phone, was sitting on the passenger seat, perfectly intact. The screen was on again, showing ongoing call, 3 hours 12 minutes and 24 seconds. The contact name wasn't ME this time. It said, bedroom. I hung up, turned the phone off, and drove until sunrise. I didn't even know where I was going, just wanted to get as far as possible from that house. By the time I stopped for gas, I was shaking so hard I dropped my wallet. The cashier looked at me funny. "You okay, man?" I nodded, but when I took my card out, I froze. The receipt from my last fuel stop, time-stamped 2:41 a.m. I hadn't left the house until after 3. I checked my phone again, dead battery, plugged it in at the motel. When it finally powered up, there were 37 missed calls. Every single one from the same number, mine. The last voicemail was 5 minutes long. I pressed play, hands trembling. First, just static. Then faint breathing. Then my voice, whispering, calm and close to the mic. "You can't run. You picked up." A pause. Then, "Now it's your turn to call." I dropped the phone and ran to the front desk, asking to use their landline. The clerk frowned. "Sure. What number?" I hesitated, then gave him my own. He dialed. The line didn't even ring, but through the motel walls, I heard it, my ringtone, coming from inside my room. The clerk looked at me. "Is that your phone?" I shook my head. "It's in my car." We both went silent as the ringing stopped. Then, faintly, from the open door of my room, my voice answered. "Hello. I left everything behind that night. Phone, car, wallet, keys. Got on a bus and never looked back. It's been weeks now. I don't have a phone anymore. But sometimes, when I walk past payphones or see someone scrolling on the street, I swear I can hear my ringtone again. And once, just once, I saw my reflection in the glass of a bus window. The screen of a phone glowing faintly in my pocket. And a name flashing on it that made my blood run cold. You.